Jovan Belcher fatally shot his girlfriend before taking his own life yesterday.
No one could have seen it coming. The 1st of December 2012 was setting up to be a crisp fall day in Kansas City, Missouri. The sun was shining, the air was clear, and all was set for it to be a normal, regular day. But at the home of a supposed love-struck couple, something terrible was about to happen. A tragedy that would shock a whole community, turning an innocent 3-month-old baby into an orphan as she loses both of her parents on the same day at the hands of the same killer. This is the twisted case of Jovan Belcher, an NFL player whose tragic story raised serious questions about mental health, domestic violence, and the pressure that athletes face. Jovan Henry Allen Belcher, popularly known as Jovan Belcher, was born to parents John Belcher and Cheryl Shepard on July 24, 1987 in New York City. He grew up in a close-knit family on Long Island, New York, where his parents raised him and instilled in him a strong work ethic and a love of football. Belcher showed a talent for the sport from a young age, and it became clear that he had a bright future ahead of him. He attended West Babylon High School in West Babylon, New York, where he excelled in sports. Jovan Belcher was quite a regular student during his time at West Babylon High School. He wasn't particularly a person of interest and didn't have a bad record all through his stay. A sports lover, he wrestled and played football under head coach Albert Ritacco between 2001 and 2004. He was so good that he became a 3-time All-American as a wrestler and played as a linebacker, offensive tackle, nose guard, and fullback on the football team. Subsequently, he became the captain of the football team for 2 seasons and led West Babylon to 2 Long Island Football Championship playoffs. Although the team did not reach the title game, this was a great achievement for Jovan Belcher. As captain, the team had its first ever undefeated regular season in 2004, when Belcher was a senior, but lost in the Suffolk County Championship game. Ironically, even though he had an accomplished high school career, was a second-team All-Long Island selection in 2004, and was named to Newsday's list of the best players of the decade for the 2000s, Belcher was not heavily recruited by major college football programs. His skills were meant to be sought after. Instead, he was largely unnoticed by major colleges. After trying for major schools with no success, he decided to settle for what he could get his hands on. Belcher attended the University of Maine, a Division I FCS school, and played on its Black Bears football team as an outside linebacker. He was 4th on the team in tackles in his first 2 seasons, while registering 58 as a freshman in 2005 and registering 52 as a sophomore in 2006. He had a standout season as a junior after he was switched from linebacker to defensive end, and was so good that the Associated Press named him a 2nd-team All-American, while Sports Network named him a 3rd-team All-American. He led Maine's collegiate conference, the Colonial Athletic Association, CAA, with 10 sacks and 17 tackles for a loss. In all, his sacks total was 7th highest in the nation, a rather impressive record. His career trajectory continued to be on the rise, as soon Belcher was named a 2nd-team preseason All-American by Lindy's Publications before his senior season in 2008, when he was also served as a team co-captain. This time, he led the CAA again with 17.5 tackles for losses. He also had 7.5 sacks and was the association's Defensive Player of the Year. After the season, Belcher was named by the American Football Coaches Association and the Walter Camp Foundation as a 1st-team All-American in the Football Championship Subdivision, a grouping of smaller schools in the National Collegiate Athletic Association's Division I. Aside from other records, he became the 4th multiple-time All-American in Black Bears history, following John Huard, Aaron Dashiell, and Stephen Cooper. Jovan Belcher, who was a strong student in high school and college, graduated from Maine with a degree in child development and family relations. After graduating from college, he still continued winning as he won an Academic Momentum Award from the National Consortium for Academics and Sports Scholar Baller program. After college, it was time for the next big step. Jovan, his family, and even his coaches from high school down to college all had high expectations for his NFL career. Unfortunately, these expectations were not exactly met when Jovan Belcher missed out on the 2009 NFL Draft. Before the 2009 NFL Draft, Belcher was considered one of the best small school prospects and was expected to move to outside linebacker in the NFL. Sports Illustrated had projected that he was going to be a 6th-round draft pick. After going undrafted, Belcher signed a free agent contract with the Chiefs in 2009. At 228 pounds, he was considered small for an inside linebacker, but made 3 starts as a rookie and played in all of the team's games. He had 33 tackles and 2 assists as Kansas City finished with a 4-12 win-loss record for last place in the AFC West division. Belcher then became a regular starter in the 2010 season, registering 53 tackles and 31 assists. The Chiefs finished with a 10-6 record and reached the playoffs. Kansas City, however, lost 30-7 to the Baltimore Ravens in the wild card round. Belcher had 1.5 sacks and 9 tackles in the game. Belcher continued as a starter in the 2011 NFL season, recording 61 tackles and 26 assists. Kansas City finished last in the AFC West with a 7-9 record, and head coach Todd Haley was replaced by defensive coordinator Romeo Crennel with 3 games remaining in the season. The Chiefs re-signed Belcher in March 2012 to a 1-year contract worth around $1.9 million. During the 2012 season, Belcher played in all 11 games while starting 10. Now in the NFL, Belcher was one athlete who believed in giving back to the community. He was involved in several community activities in Kansas City in 2011, including visiting a nearby military base and a local elementary school to promote an NFL program for children. He also traveled back to West Babylon every year to give motivational speeches to students.
You got to stay in the books, because it's going to pay off for you,
He took part in most of Kansas City Chiefs' charitable activities during his time with them. He was a supporter of several organizations, including the Make-A-Wish Foundation and the Boys and Girls Club of America. He participated in several fundraising events and visited children in hospitals. Due to his contributions to the community, Belcher was widely respected and appreciated by the Kansas City community. That's not all. Jovan Belcher also made several charitable donations during his time in the NFL. He was a major supporter of the Reading is Fundamental program, which encourages literacy among children. He also donated money to the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation and other local organizations. He was a frequent donor to the United Way of Greater Kansas City. One of Jovan Belcher's most significant charitable contributions was to the University of Kansas Health System's Pediatric Neurology Department, where he made a substantial donation to help fund research and treatment for children with neurological disorders. In addition, Belcher was a frequent donor to the American Cancer Society and other organizations committed to fighting cancer. He was also a very generous individual. For example, when Belcher passed Girl Scouts selling cookies, he'd always drop $20 and leave the box behind. But while he was engaged in these charitable deeds, no one knew that apart from his relationship struggles, he also struggled with his mental health. Belcher himself paid very little attention to his mental health. Jovan Belcher struggled with anger and mood swings throughout his life. His former college coach said that Belcher was known to get very angry and would go off sometimes. Belcher's friends also said that he was prone to emotional outbursts and would sometimes lash out at people. Unfortunately, Jovan Belcher played most of his games having serious headaches, concoction, and instability. As good as he was in managing these challenges in his career, it seemed to be different in his personal and social life. The NFL might have been the dream, but it had adverse effects on his mental health. Recounting their early struggles, his former colleague Richard Langford, a former rookie defensive back with the Chiefs, said, "The thing about the NFL is that from the outside all people see is the glory and the fame, but it's not what they think. You used to play for love, now you're playing for money. When I met Jovan, he was always hurt. His ankles and wrists were real problem areas. I don't think he was ever 100%, but he would never say anything." His friends say he also rarely complained about his wrists, ankles, or knees even when he had to play through excruciating pain. Jovan Belcher struggled when it came to relationships. He reportedly had a hard time communicating and tended to withdraw from relationships when things got difficult. In some cases, he ended relationships abruptly without warning. He often struggled to communicate his feelings and had a hard time trusting people, especially the woman he was in a relationship with. Campus police reports from Belcher's time at the University of Maine reveal that he was unable to control his temper in relationships. In 2006, as a freshman, he became so upset over a girl he punched his arm through a window. In 2007, he had a noise complaint brought against him after arguing with a girlfriend who failed to get in touch with him at a certain time. When she did show up, he told her that he did not want to see her until the morning. But when he met Cassandra Perkins, Jovan Belcher knew he was in love. Cassandra Perkins was born on the 14th of October 1990 in McKinney, Texas, United States, to parents Becky Gonzalez and Daryl Perkins. The family lived in Texas for most of Cassandra's childhood, and she attended high school in McKinney. Cassandra was described as a very promising young lady who had aspirations of becoming a teacher and was also active in the Kansas City Chiefs woman organization. Those who knew Cassandra Perkins described her as an easygoing, hardworking, and caring girl. She also dedicated her time to volunteering for different causes, including community programs and after-school programs for children. Jovan Belcher and Cassandra Perkins met in 2010 through Jamal Charles, who was a running back for the Kansas City Chiefs at that time and also a close friend of Jovan Belcher. Jamal's wife was a first cousin to Cassandra Perkins. After Jamal introduced them, they kicked things off almost immediately. In time, Jovan Belcher and Cassandra Perkins became inseparable. A close friend of theirs even described them as a perfect couple. Interestingly, the couple shared a fascination for firearms, an interest that drew them even closer. For Jovan, the relationship was a quiet place. Added to his success in his career, things seemed almost perfect. At the time, Perkins was actively pursuing her studies at a local community college. According to her friends, she loved being around kids and was also looking forward to having kids of her own. But their relationship, though full of love, could easily be described as turbulent, as the couple would argue frequently, although neighbors and even the police confirmed there was no history of physical violence, at least not until the unfortunate incident. The relationship became even more complicated after Cassandra gave birth to their daughter Zoe. The arguments became more frequent and intense. All he wanted to do was be a great dad and give Zoe a wonderful life, but it wasn't because Belcher didn't like the child. In fact, according to Cash Kiefer, a close friend of Belcher who was at the hospital with him on the day of delivery, all he wanted to do was be a great dad and give Zoe a wonderful life. It was as if his dream had come true. Well, photos on Cassandra's Facebook showed Belcher holding his baby and smiling, confirming Cash's account that he was happy to be a father. Belcher loved his child even though he and the baby's mother were constantly fighting. And it wasn't as if he no longer loved his girlfriend, Belcher still did. Brianne York, a friend of the couple, said that the couple argued about normal couple stuff.
They, had a little fight that she left for a few days, but she didn't move out.
Sometimes he would just be down in his man cave or whatever, while Perkins wanted to spend more time together as a family. York revealed that earlier that year the couple lived apart for some months, but were back together by Thanksgiving. They ended up wanting to try to work it out, York said. And the next time I went over and visited, she told me everything was good and things were better. By December, Belcher, his girlfriend Cassandra, and his 3-month-old daughter were living together. Belcher's mom, who had come to assist with the baby, also lived with them at 5401 Chrysler Avenue in Kansas City. Cassandra Perkins herself was taking a break from school to nurse her baby with plans to return in January. No one had any idea that their story was about to take an unfortunate turn. And even if things were to go bad, it would have been impossible to predict what would happen next. It doesn't seem that that would be the end of their story, said Brianne York. It just seems like if things didn't work out, they would have gone their separate ways. I would never have thought that this would be how it ended. Jovan Belcher wasn't the type of man you describe as violent. Being an NFL star, he was a role model to the kids in the community and regularly volunteered to partake in the Chiefs' charitable endeavors. The former team captain of the University of Maine, Black Bears football team, was described by his college football coach as a phenomenally impressive young man with an infectious smile who conducted himself in and around the young men on the team. But after breaking into the NFL, Belcher became a much-changed man. The young man, who previously shied away from social activities and wasn't known to be a heavy drinker, started frequenting nightclubs and bars and drinking heavily. Also, 2012 was turning out to be a rather bittersweet year for Belcher. He had welcomed his daughter and secured a $1.9 million one-year contract in March, but things weren't going as expected with the team. Belcher was a regular starter in a struggling team. The success recorded by the Chiefs in the 2010 season had proven to be a fluke, as in the next season they suffered a miserable 7-9 run that resulted in a change of coach. Belcher was also a walking bruise. Due to how often he played, his ankles and wrists throbbed. His head often hurt and his neck was always sore. Alcohol appeared to help with the pressure and he found himself drinking more and more. In November, he suffered a concussion, and even though he was listed as questionable by the Chiefs, he played the next game against the Raiders. The pressure of the NFL was real, and with each passing day, his job was becoming even more uncertain. He called me in tears one day. They were riding him so hard, says a former teammate. Jovan was a hard worker and a leader, but the NFL can be really stupid. Once you're a guy from Maine, you're always a guy from Maine. You never fully prove yourself. That ate him up like nobody's business. Belcher was going through a lot in his career, and the frequent arguments back at home didn't help matters. On the 1st of December 2012, everything came crashing down. The night before, Cassandra Perkins attended a Trey Songz concert at the Midland Theater with her friends, a decision that led to an argument when she returned home at about 1 a.m. After the argument, Jovan Belcher went to the Power and Light District, an entertainment area by the Midland and T-Mobile Center in downtown Kansas City. He went out with a woman he was dating on the side while also leaving the house to the Power and Light District. After losing the woman in the crowd, Belcher drove to her apartment only to find the place locked. Unable to get in, he decided to sleep in his Bentley, leaving his ignition on. This drew suspicion from a nearby resident who alerted the police concerning a suspicious person in a car parked on Armour Boulevard. The police arrived at 2:50 a.m. when Belcher then told them that he was waiting for his girlfriend, who he had forgotten the code to her apartment. The police report said that he initially displayed signs of being under the influence, which was most likely due to sleep, but after a few minutes of being awake, his demeanor and communication became more fluid and coherent. The officers didn't smell alcohol on him, he wasn't slurring his words, and he showed no sign of being violent or emotionally unstable. After discussing the temporary tags on the car, the officers urged him to go inside the building. Two women who were up late offered to let him into their nearby apartment while he waited for his girlfriend. After taking him to a petrol station to buy a sports drink, they gave him a pillow and blanket, and Jovan slept on the couch until 6:45 a.m. But on arrival at his home at around 7 a.m., the argument with Cassandra Perkins began again. During the argument, Belcher drew a handgun and shot Perkins. His mother, Cheryl Shepard, who had only recently moved in, heard multiple gunshots and immediately ran to the bedroom where Belcher was kneeling next to Perkins' body, saying he was sorry. When Cheryl called the police, the baby could be heard crying in the background. Cassandra was quickly rushed to the nearby hospital where she was declared dead. The autopsy report showed that Belcher shot Perkins in the neck, chest, abdomen, hip, back, leg, and hand. 8 spent shell casings, 3 spent bullet fragments in the bathroom, and a black handgun on the vanity were discovered by investigators. When the police arrived, a hysterical and shocked Shepard told 2 officers that she suspected her son was going to commit suicide, and as medical personnel attended to Perkins, she overheard on their radios that someone was at the chief's training facility with a gun. Shepard left Zoe in the care of a neighbor and was driven to a police station where she would later learn that her son was dead. Realizing what he had done, Belcher kissed Perkins and apologized to his mother and his baby daughter before frantically driving off to the Arrowhead Stadium, damaging his rearview mirror on the way. Chiefs General Manager Scott Pioli saw Belcher holding a gun to his head in the parking lot of the team's training facility and jumped out of his vehicle so he could find out what was happening. Belcher then asked Pioli to call head coach Romeo Crennel and linebackers coach Gary Gibbs, who were both inside the building. Pioli told investigators that while holding a gun to his head, Belcher said to him, "You know that I've been having some major problems at home and with my girlfriend. I need help. I wasn't able to get enough help. I appreciate everything you all have done for me with trying to help, but it wasn't enough. I've hurt my girl already and I can't go back now." Belcher then asked Pioli and Chiefs owner Clark Hunt to take care of his daughter. According to witnesses, Coach Crennel tried desperately to get Belcher to put down the gun. An employee who identified himself as a chef who at that moment was unloading a truck said Crennel told Belcher he was taking the easy way out. Having received a distress call about a suspect whose description matched Jovan, the police rushed over to the Chiefs' training ground. They arrived at the scene at 8:01 a.m., but the sound of sirens approaching startled Belcher, who told the men that he had to kill himself and can't be here. After walking to the back of the parking lot, he knelt down by a car, made a sign of the cross, and shot himself in the head. Belcher was still alive when medical personnel arrived, but died a short time later. A photograph from the scene showed Perkins' blood all over the chrome gear shift of Belcher's vehicle, as well as broken glass on the dashboard. The coaches all told the police they never felt in danger. Instead, Belcher showed remorse and gratitude. But what could have led a promising athlete like Jovan Belcher to kill his girlfriend before taking his own life? While to most people the incident came as a huge shock, according to revelations from his secret girlfriend Brittany Glass less than 2 months before the murder, Belcher had sent a text message to his secret girlfriend saying he would shoot the mother of his child if she didn't leave him alone. Belcher also told Glass that Perkins knew exactly how to press his buttons and make him angry. He told her that Perkins had threatened to take all his money and his child if they split up. Coach Crennel, who was also aware of the delicate state of their relationship, said that Belcher a few weeks earlier had blamed Perkins for missing a team meeting after he had to watch the baby because Perkins didn't come home the night before. Crennel said he thought the couple had trust issues and Perkins expected a better life with an NFL player. Crennel said that he got the impression that Perkins desired to live a better life because she was with an NFL player. He also told the police that Belcher had discussed getting custody with a lawyer. But even with these reports, Belcher wasn't really the violent type, and his mom was convinced that the NFL was responsible for driving her son off the edge. Cheryl Shepard filed a lawsuit in Jackson County Circuit Court in Kansas City alleging that her son was subjected to repetitive head trauma, and that the Chiefs failed to provide adequate medical care, which led him to kill his girlfriend before committing suicide. The suit joins more than 30 other plaintiffs, many of them former Chiefs players with similar suits against the NFL in federal court, all of which are currently waiting for the league to gain approval for a $765 million joint settlement. An autopsy report from Dr. Piotr Kozlowski, Dean of Research and Professor of Pathology at Touro College of Osteopathic Medicine in New York City, revealed that Belcher had a degenerative brain disease called CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy, when he killed himself. The disease is a progressive death of brain cells caused by repeated heavy blows to the head, leading to memory loss, depression, and dementia. CTE can only be identified post-mortem and has been found in many athletes, including over 50 former NFL players, which includes Junior Seau and Dave Duerson, who both committed suicide. Attorney Ken McLean, whose firm also was involved in the lawsuits against the Chiefs, said the autopsy findings supported what the plaintiffs have been saying all along, that repeated head trauma can cause players to become angry and lose control of their impulses. The Chiefs knew he and his significant other were having major domestic violence issues, and he had a major concussion 2 weeks before this happened, McLean said. A statement released by the NFL read, "The NFL has a long history of changing the rules of the game to make it safer on the field, providing players the best medical care, and updating protocols on diagnosing concussions, treating concussions, and returning to play after a concussion." The events of the night of the 30th of November down to the morning of the 1st of December largely remain a mystery. What could have pushed Jovan Belcher to pull the trigger on his girlfriend and mother of his 3-month-old baby? Even though we cannot say for certain what transpired, it is clear that Belcher was going through a lot, and maybe if he had opened up about his struggles, this tragedy could have been averted. Thanks for sticking with us all through this video. Hope you learned something. Keep the conversation going by letting us know what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos just like this. See you in our next video.